every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Good evening and thank you for joining us on CoreTV Primetime News. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. In our major story, Senate begins screening of ministerial nominees. Also in this package, the Inspector General of Police says the police forces arrested two of the masterminds of the recent Yaya and Koja bomb attacks. The House of Representatives calls for the setting up of a situation room for the rescue of adopted persons from insurgents. And outside Nigeria, the Dutch Safety Board has issued its report on the shooting down of the MH17 aircraft, blaming a Russian-made missile for the disaster. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. The Senate has started with a screening of ministerial nominees for the new Federal Executive Council being put together by President Muhammadu Buhari. Payasami has more in this report.
On a normal day, the Senate sits between 10 and 2 p.m. But there was a twist on Tuesday as relevant rules were suspended to allow for an extension of time to screen the ministerial nominees. And when it was time for the legislative business, the senators went into a closed-door session to enable them to adopt modalities for the screening. After 25 minutes of deliberation, the Senate President Bukola Saraki declared the session open.
Of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended in the committee of the whole, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
It's the first day of the ministerial screening and 10 nominees appeared for the exercise. So, one after the other, they shed light on areas they hope to improve on as cabinet members.
With the dramatic fall in the prices of crude oil, public sector finances are under pressure. Many states have difficulty in paying salaries. The Naira is being buffeted. The values in the Nigerian Stock Exchange have been seriously eroded. These are difficult times.
The resources we have in our country are enormous. Nigeria is a rich nation. There is therefore no reason for Nigerians to be poor. There are so many abnormalities in our country. Today we have over 10 million of our children out of school.
Since I was last in government, I have been practicing agriculture. I've gone around many parts of the world to see what they do and what we do and where they succeed and where we fail. And I think it's time for us, now that oil and gas are no longer able to sustain this economy, to create jobs and sustain our people, with our population heading high up, 200 million in 5 years, and by 2050, 450 million Nigerians. We need to feed them because the stomach is the most powerful engine of anger and contentment.
For some, it was an easy ride, but for others, it wasn't.
And the second allegation is that you spent untoward amount of money to furnish the government house when you were governor at the expense of other programs for your people. Nigerians are interested in your answering these questions.
Yes, I built a government house for the people of Ekiti. Ekiti is today 19 years old, one of the youngest states in the country, but it never had a befitting. In fact, it never had a government house. Anyone who had the opportunity to visit me when I was governor in Ekiti would know the pokey-choky place I was staying in, where you couldn't even have a meeting of my entire cabinet or my state assembly if I wanted to do that.
But the real drama was reserved for the appearance of APC spokesman Lai Mohammed. Senators were divided along party lines before the Senate President, Bukola Saraki, broke the ice and urged the nominee to justify his nomination.
I was distinguished senators. I have been in the opposition as a spokesperson for about 10 years, and I must say that I've thoroughly enjoyed being in opposition, but I'm sure it's better and more comfortable to be in government. I think 4 years is too short for you to learn the rope in opposition, so you may have to stay a bit much more longer.
After over 6 hours of screening, all 10 were cleared. The screening continues on Wednesday. Pius Samuel, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Senate President Bukola Saraki had earlier unveiled the second batch of ministerial lists comprising of 3 women. The second list, which had relatively unknown names, however, included Heineken Lakbobiri, who defected from the People's Democratic Party just before the presidential election.
The final list of ministerial nominees for Senate confirmation. I hope the screening will, as usual, be carried out expeditiously by the distinguished Senate. Final list of ministerial nominees. Number 1, Khadija
Professor Anthony Onga, Jeffrey Onyema, Brigadier
It's working now.
N.M. Ali Richard, Barrister James E. Ucholi, Okechukwu Enedama, Muhammadu Bello, Mustafa Baba Sheshuri, Ms. Aisha Abubakar, Heineken Okubri. Professor Isaac Adewale, Pastor Usani Ukuru, and Abubakar Wari Baba.
This man speaks very
As the Senate continues the screening of ministerial nominees, Edo State Governor Adams Oshiomhole says the appointment of Babatunde Fashola will afford him the opportunity to replicate his accomplishments in Lagos State at the federal level. Oshiomhole, who said this at the retreat for members of the Edo State Executive Council in Abuja, argued that Fashola has the mental strength and political will to support President Buhari's vision for the country. He also explained that the essence of the retreat is to examine the policy of his administration.
More decisively in Abuja, so that the promise of change and the forces of change will be unleashed around the country, and even we in Edo will feel your impact from Abuja.
What I did was to tell our team that let us continue to explain to them what we are doing and what we plan to do. And I say here about developing a plan, and I will come to it in a minute. But don't see that pressure as a negative. It is not. See it as a positive, because they are asking you to do it. That's the positive that all of you must draw.
The Women for Equity and Fairness Organization of Nigeria says the inclusion of only 4 women in the ministry released by President Muhammadu Buhari amounts to total marginalization. Coordinator of the group says it is not ideal for a woman married outside of a state to be subjected to all sorts of abuse. Vice President of WEFUN, who also added a voice to the debate, says President Buhari should be gender-friendly in making decisions concerning the nation.
That it is a woman that made him what he is today. If a woman did not have him, he will not be president today. So he should think and be sensitive to women and include women in his government. She is somebody we know. She is somebody that has been tested internationally. So we need her there, and we need more women there. More women in his administration. We are not second-class citizens in Nigeria. We are full-fledged Nigerian citizens. So we need to be a partaker of the administration, a partaker of the Nigerian national pie.
We want to engender Buhari. We're engendering Buhari today. He has to be engendered. We need more women in government. We need inclusive governance.
As the screening of the ministerial nominees by the Senate continues, Nigerians in just the Plateau State capital have been speaking of what qualities they expect from would-be ministers. Our Plateau State correspondent has more of the report presented from our studios. With the screening of ministerial nominees now in full swing, Nigerians are speaking on what they expect of the would-be ministers. For this concerned Nigerians, the fight against corruption must be top of the agenda of the ministers to be.
People who have done it or who have the pedigree to do it, the robustness, the knowledge base, the experience to get the job done.
Your character, your conduct must be also must not be questionable, must not be one that anybody has doubt about. You must be a person of unquestionable character.
For those respondents, they heard divergent views about the reported move by President Buhari to hold the ministerial position.
If the president is saying that he wants to be a minister, yeah, I don't know how it sounds a little bit funny. Well, he too should also subject himself.
Perfect list. Well, one cannot just say it's a perfect list, but it's a good list because no human being is perfect. You understand? And so far, most of them have experience in the sense that they held executive offices. People like Obonaya Onu, Chris Ngige, Rotimi Amechi, and others. And in fact, I think since they have supported Buhari in the change campaign, I believe they will fall in line.
While they all agree that putting in place a cabinet is long overdue, but also agree the screening of nominees should be extended to all the bodies besides the Senate. Nigeria Governors Forum on Tuesday held an extraordinary meeting where presentations on reforms were received from strategic ministries, departments and agencies. Addressing journalists at the end of the meeting, Chairman of the forum said part of the reforms are expected to transform the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation into a more business-oriented and profitable company. Other issues discussed bordered and improved relations and understanding between state and various development partners. We'll bring you details of that report in the subsequent bulletins. The National Assembly Elections Petition Tribunal sitting in Lawrence has upheld the Kwara Central Senatorial election that produced Bukola Saraki as senator representing the district. Presiding Judge Josiah Majabi says the petitioner, Abdurrahman Abdurazak of the People's Democratic Party, has failed to prove his allegation of gross irregularities and thereby dismisses the petition in its entirety, thereby upholding the election of Bukola Saraki.
The tribunal raised its ruling on 3 main grounds. First, that the petition was filed outside 21 days. We are of the view, and we know from the evidence led that the results were declared on the 29th of March. And so, but the tribunal says the results were declared 28th. But we know from the evidence led, even the fourth respondent, one of the respondent witness, gave evidence that elections were declared on the 29th. So we'll test that on appeal by the grace of God. Thirdly, the tribunal says that we could not prove substantial allegations of corrupt practices, substantial non-compliance. And we are of the view that INEC guidelines is clear, and it is the duty of the tribunal to relay was the INEC guidelines complied with. It is not our duty.
The tribunal has delivered its judgment, the summary of which is that the petition is incompetent because it was filed out of the time statutorily prescribed for filing same. The tribunal didn't stop there. It also considered the case on the merits, and it found that all the allegations of commission of crimes that were made in the petition were not substantiated. In the same token, the tribunal found that all the allegations of non-compliance were not substantiated, and that the testimonies of the 4 witnesses called by the petitioners was not sufficient to prove the various allegations contained in the petition, and naturally it came to the conclusion to dismiss same.
The Rivers State National Assembly Tribunal sitting in Abuja has dismissed the petition filed by Magnus Abe of the All Progressives Congress and upheld the election of Senator Olaka Nwogo of the People's Democratic Party. Abe had challenged Senator Nwogo's victory, alleging the election did not hold in Rivers South East Senatorial District. Tribunal Chairman Justice Muhammad Shifrawa, who delivered the judgment, said the petitioners failed to prove the allegation that there was no election in the senatorial district on March 28 when the National Assembly elections were held across the country. Shifrawa further held that after a thorough examination of all evidence, exhibits and testimonies of witnesses, the tribunal found that election actually took place in the district. He said the petitioner failed to call at least one witness from the over 1,400 polling units in his senatorial district to substantiate his allegation that there was no election. The tribunal also dismissed the petition filed by Ikpigi Burgini of the All Progressives Congress against Jacob Singbina representing Elemitai, Wogbo Federal Constituency of the state. We'll take a quick break. I'll be back with details of the rest of the masterminds of the recent Yaya Kuja bombing in Abuja. Don't go away.
This is what the people are saying.
You don't run a big economy with generator. They need to do more in terms of energy and power.
Many things to do for this Nigeria about lights, water, and new TT.
For Nigerians that are not gullible, we know that good laws have done nothing good for this country.
Buhari won the election convincingly. Talk to our husband that you should keep promise about what you said, and because people are watching you, you know, another election is coming.
Also, some people will strong for Yoruba land. We'll be strong, man. We don't die.
This nation is moving forward. The best is going to take place.
The people giving voice to the voiceless.
As news breaks, people don't let events pass without giving their comment or reactions.
When the problem arises in society, these are the people that should be consulted.
To cleanse the corruption in society, we are not to provide information for good life and also security of life and property in this country.
The academic society have the loudest voice on this platform.
Whether you call it a sovereign national conference or a national conference, it is about the people of Nigeria.
There should be a change in power.
In any way they can do it.
I think there's a script already.
Every Tuesday at 8:45 p.m. on this station. From the Ivory Tower, a must-watch for the learning minds.
You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, just to watch at the course of a primetime news, a quick reminder of our major stories. Senate begins screening of ministerial nominees. The Inspector General of Police says the police force have arrested 2 of the masterminds of the recent Yaya and Kuje bomb attacks. The House of Representatives called for the setting up of a situation room for the rescue of adopted persons from insurgents. For more on the news and other programs, please visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can follow us on Twitter at CoreTV News NG. Also visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com/CoreTV, leave a space, then news. The National Orientation Agency and the Independent National Judicial Commission are seeking stronger collaboration and peace initiatives that will guarantee peaceful governorship elections in Kogi and Bayelsa State. NOA Director General Michael Murray disclosed this when he paid a courtesy visit on the acting INEC chairman Amina Zakari in Abuja. Omeri says the 2 organizations need to improve on their long-existing relationship to sensitize citizens on their civic responsibilities and mobilize them to contribute to the democratic process of our country. In her remarks, the INEC acting chairman commended NOA for its tremendous support and mobilization of citizens on civic responsibility during the 2015 election. She added that the partnership between NOA and INEC is defined in the sense that the Commission is to engage in voters' education, while the agency is to be involved in mobilization and civic education. The Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arasa, says the police have arrested 2 terror suspects in connection with the October 2nd bombings in Yaya and Kuje. FCT have left 20 persons dead and 41 others injured. The IGP made this known while parading some members of the gang that kidnapped Chief Olufalaye. He revealed the arrest of his suspect followed another attempt by the terrorists to undertake another attack in the FCT. He added that the police will continue to work towards eradicating crime and criminality in the country.
Masi Hudu Mohammed and Bello Tano. The suspects who operate a statewide kidnapping ring were arrested at their hideouts in Niger State, Ekiti State, and Ondo States, respectively.
The House of Representatives has urged the federal government to set up a situation room with skilled security operatives to intensify search and rescue efforts for persons adopted by insurgents. They also want government to sponsor a child each from the family of anyone adopted to the highest level of education. The resolutions were reached following a motion on the need to intensify efforts on the rescue of the 219 missing Chibokers tabled by the member representing Damboa Goza Chibok constituency, Ashabe Bashir.
Resolves to 1. Urge the federal government to set up a control or situation room to be manned by highly skilled and specialized crack team drawn from the security forces.
The mover of this motion, I would like us to also extend Prayer 1 to include all victims Boko Haram attacks of kidnap attacks to also to be part of Prayer 1. I would also like us to extend Prayer 2 to include victims of Boko Haram attacks, and also I'd like to extend Prayer 6 to also include those victims.
Daredevil armed robbers in the early hours of Tuesday laid siege on two commercial banks in the Festac area of Lagos. The robbers stormed the area at about 7:30 a.m., holding customers and residents hostage for over 2 hours. They reportedly accessed the area through the canal on 4th Avenue and successfully carried out their operations. The police, according to eyewitnesses, were nowhere to be found during the over 2 hours the robbery lasted and only surfaced when the bandits had left. Eyewitnesses also confirmed that some of them escaped through the same canal, others drove through the 23 road, shooting sporadically.
The suspects who operate a statewide kidnapping ring were arrested at their hideouts in Niger State,
An Ibutimeta Magistrate Court has remanded 17 suspects arrested in connection with the murder of the Managing Director of Lekki Free Trade Zone, Tajuddin Disu, in the custody of the State Criminal Investigation Department. Today, even ruling on an application by the Prosecuting Counsel seeking the leave of the court to remand the suspects in custody of the police pending further investigation. The presiding magistrate, Folashade Botoko, declared her agreement with the defense counsel on the issue of jurisdiction on the matter. She, however, added that what is before her is an application to remand the suspects by the police for proper investigation. She granted this request quoting Section 264 of the Administration of Criminal Justice 2011, Sections 1 and 2 to back her ruling. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has secured the conviction of Igbo Agbana and Akara Eloho Anthony. The deal was docked before Justice Shita Abubakar of the Federal High Court in Warri, Delta State. The convicts were arraigned on a 2-count charge of conspiracy and altering of forged documents, were sentenced to 2 years imprisonment without an option of fine on each of the counts. Justice Abubakar also ordered that the convicts return the sum of $12,000 to their victim from Hong Kong. The National Intelligence Agency had petitioned the EFCC in June 2013 on behalf of the victim, accusing Agbana and Anthony fraudulent activities. They were also accused of conspiring to forge a driver's license with the name Prito Artwell and used it to open accounts with a branch of First City Monument Bank located at 34B Allen Drive, Casino Warri, Delta State, to defraud the victim. Also, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arraigned one Henry Alade and his company, Impact the Rest Strategies and Execution Limited, before Justice Lawa Akapo of the Lagos State High Court, Ikeja, on an 8-count charge bordering on stealing, obtaining money by false pretense and forgery. The accused person allegedly defrauded a New Generation Bank of 180 million naira by using his company to secure an invoice discount facility from the bank. Alade was said to have approached the bank requesting for invoice discount facility worth 115 million naira and 65 million naira respectively, but fraudulently representing forged invoices, which he claimed represented a certain job he executed for Airtel Networks Limited. The accused person is alleged to have connived with Henry Momo and Ethem Odo at the Airtel corporate office, who alleged and acknowledged the forged invoices when the resident auditor of the bank presented same at the Airtel office for verification. Professionals in the broadcast media have gathered in Lagos to brainstorm on getting content for television stations, especially now with imminent migration to digital terrestrial television. The CEO of Multimesh Media Group says this conference is concerned about the need to educate the public in managing content.
Squeeze no range. Somebody gives you got no range. You know how you can squeeze and get all the liquid out of it. So it has several challenges. Now, one of the challenges depends on who has that content. So their challenges are different. One, if you take a small platform, his challenge is reach. If you take a big platform, his challenge is exploitation. Now, if you come back to the content producer itself, how he manages that content has to do with quality, which we have in various ways we looked at. One, who is your audience? What kind of quality are you putting? what is demand for that product. So these are different challenges of managing a content in that broad spectrum.
The most challenging part of content in broadcasting is for us to have enough resources that could make us to produce a qualitative program going by the shift from analog to digital. By the time we fully digitize, it means that our program contents are not meant for our own environment alone. You might be picked off from an environment which you don't even know where that environment is particularly situated. And it is going to compete with programs produced out there.
And in the world of business, following the death of a farmer, Kim Tijani, due to the demolition of his oil palm farm and the need to give time for farmers to harvest crops on the various farmlands, the Ekiti State government has ordered the immediate halt of all activities on the farmlands earmarked for the airport project. Now, this came after a meeting between the state government and concerned farmers, with the state also agreeing to pay compensation. Rashid has more in this report.
This is the demolished oil palm plantation that allegedly led to the death of Kim Tijani, as narrated by Fabi Julius.
Yanni is one of my workers. I've been working with me for the past 7 years in the plantation. He's my worker. He called for me. I do pay him once in a year, and he collected at least 150,000, 200 from me yearly. So when he had the shock that the bulldozers started to bulldoze that farm, he collapsed.
The affected communities raised the issue of compensation before the commencement of demolition.
I said no compensation, even no negotiation, no information at all. No information that they are coming to me.
We don't know what we can derive from that airport, because this cocoa is what we have been using, and the government is deriving from it.
In an emotion-laced meeting with the governor of Ekiti State, Ayo Fayose, the governor says the state will pay compensation for the farmlands. He also directed that all clearing of land meant for the airport should stop immediately until farmers finish harvesting their crops.
I've spoken with them, I've reassured them. Government will pay compensation. And some of them said they want to do the harvest up until December. I've agreed with that. That's not too much, because there's no rush. There's no rush, there's no emergency. But you see, at the same time, we have to do what we have to do.
With the project now on hold and compensation still hanging, the dream of Ekiti having an airport of its own may take longer than expected. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado Ekiti.
Environmental activists are optimistic that the federal government will live up to its promise of releasing $10 million for the commencement of the cleanup of the Ogoni environment. They stated this in Abuja, the review of efforts to implement the report of the United Nations Environmental Programme on oil spills in the community. They, however, lamented that 4 years after UNEP released its findings on oil contamination in Ogoniland, the federal government failed to take serious action towards restoring the environment.
In the last 2 months, there has been a glimmer of light indicating that at last the much-awaited remediation of the Ogoni environment may begin. The announcement by the federal government that it is setting aside $10 million to commence the process is a welcome gesture, even though small compared with what is needed to effect the cleanup. It is in the hope of this It is our hope that this ray of hope does not fizzle away, and we are pleased to welcome you here today to strategize on the most appropriate ways to salvage the Ogoni environment. It is our expectation that this meeting will result in a set of recommendations which will significantly push this process forward.
I think the whole matter, as far as I'm concerned, got politicized. It got politicized by a government that was looking perhaps for the right opportunity to make a political meal out of it. Unfortunately, it didn't seem to know when that opportunity passed. And that's where we are now. Now we have a new government that is indicating interest in fulfilling its promises on this matter. And they have given a space has opened for all of us to engage. And this is why we are here in Abuja trying to engage in that space that the government has now opened.
We'll take another quick break. I'll be back on more stories. Please stay with us.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Now for some stories outside Nigeria, the Dutch Safety Board says the Malaysian airline flight MH17 crashed as a result of a Russian-made bug. The monsoon hit the front left of the plane, causing other parts to break off. It says in a final report into the July 2014 disaster, which killed 298 people. The Western Ukraine said Russian-backed rebels brought down the Boeing 777, but Russia blames Ukrainian forces. The report does not say who fired, but says airspace over eastern Ukraine should have been closed. The plane flying from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur crashed at the height of the conflict between government troops and pro-Russian separatists. Most of the victims were Dutch, 196, including some with dual nationality. The other passengers and crew were nationals from 10 countries. Also, 3 Israelis have been killed and more than 20 injured in shooting and stabbing attacks in Jerusalem and central Israel, according to Israeli police. Now, 2 were also killed when 2 assailants were identified as Arabs shot and stabbed passengers on a bus in Jerusalem before being shot by the police. Another Israeli died after being run down and stabbed elsewhere in the city. Later, a Palestinian was killed in clashes with Israeli forces in the West Bank city of Bethlehem, according to medics. Near-daily stabbings by Palestinians have left dozens of Israelis dead and wounded over the past fortnight. Several attackers and at least 17 other Palestinians have also been killed. Now, Hillary Clinton is preparing for the first Democratic presidential debate, seeking to mix her mastery of policy with a more personal touch. For chief rival Bernie Sanders, the debate is a chance to reach a broader audience after months of appealing to the party's most liberal voters. But unlike recent Republican debates, Tuesday's Democratic outing is expected to be more substance than slugfest. Analysts expect a heavy focus on economic issues like income inequality. The 3 are the mostly unknown candidates: former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, former Virginia Senator Jim Verb, and former Rhode Island Senator Lincoln Jaffe, will be seeking a stand-up moment after months of languishing in the polls. And Vice President Joe Biden, who's still considering a run for the White House, will loom large despite not actually being on stage. For some stories in sport.
Our style, that's what he delivered. Here's that ball storming, now he takes Puyol with a flying lead.
Go, taking him out in the lead.
As Nigerian soccer analysts continue to comment on the double-header international friendlies against Congo last Thursday and Cameroon on Sunday in Belgium, a former member of the Executive Committee of the Nigeria Football Federation, Obinna Ogwe, says the 3-0 win over Cameroon has saved Super Eagles chief coach Sunday Lisa from critics and Nigerian football fans. Ogwe, who is also the proprietor of the Boeing Angels, told journalists in Abuja the Super Eagles' 2-0 defeat by Congo in the first match was due largely to the disagreement between Elise and former team captain Vincent Ayama. He observed that the fracas affected the Super Eagles. He therefore advised Elise and the NFF not to destroy what was on ground before his arrival. According to him, the outcome of the 2 friendlies has shown that Ayama is still relevant in the senior national team. Both the coach and the NFF must remember that we still need Ayama. There are no two ways about it. After all, most of his mates still playing. However, the lawmaker expresses confidence that given the zeal with which the Super Eagles approached the game against arch-rivals, the indomitable Lions of Cameroon, which resulted in an emphatic 3-0 victory, and the next AFCON qualifier against the Pharaohs of Egypt will be a victory for Nigeria. Nigeria and the 17 team expect to land at in Chile, venue of the 2015 FIFA Under-17 World Cup on Tuesday afternoon. The Golden Eaglets have been preparing hard for the competition, rounded off their training tour of Argentina with a 3-1 win over Racing Club of Buenos Aires. A brace from Victor Osimhen plus a third from Samu Chukwueze ensured a convincing win against the Argentine outfit, whose goal was scored by Gutierrez. According to coach Manuel Amunike, the training tour to Argentina rarely added immense value to the team, while stating their objective to win the world title. We have been struggling to adjust to the cold weather since it's colder in Chile. Nigeria faced the United States of America on Saturday at the Estadio Nacional Julio Martinez Paredes in Santiago. The 2015 Ballon d'Or has already been reserved for Lionel Messi, according to Barcelona team. Messi is the current favorite to claim the game-stop individual prize after inspiring Barcelona to the treble last season before reaching the final of the Copa America with Argentina. Neymar is eager to be named among the final 3 nominees for the ceremony in January of next year, but has little doubt he will claim the prize currently held by Cristiano Ronaldo. With Messi currently sidelined with a knee ligament injury, Neymar insists he's ready to handle the pressure of being coming back as focal point in attack. Well, that's a wrap on CoreTV Primetime News, but before we go, a quick reminder of our major stories. Senate begins screening of ministerial nominees. The Inspector General of Police says the police force have arrested 2 of the masterminds of the recent Yaya and Kuja bomb attacks. The House of Representatives called for the setting up of a situation room for the rescue of adopted persons from insurgents. And finally, the Dutch Safety Board has issued its report on the shooting down of the MH17 aircraft, blaming a Russian maid for the disaster. Thank you very much for staying through with us. I am Elijah Wakil. You have a wonderful night.